Welcome back to the channel. My name is Brad, and today we're going to talk about QDTE, XDTE, RDTE, YBTC, and YETH. I ran the back testing on the last two. Just wanted to see how they're doing. See if there's something that you might be interested in. If you're new to the channel, every Saturday I give you my predictions of what the premiums are going to be, distributions, paid out next Friday and the following week. So you can follow along. I retired a few months ago and I live off my distributions. So hopefully this helps everybody out. And thank you for joining the channel. Not legal advice, tax advice, or accounting advice, or you know the deal. Read the symbol. Anyway, let's jump into it. I also have a card up top, or the video up above is going to tell you how they're going to roll the poor man cover call, in my opinion. So how did I do? Come on, Brad. Brad guesses every week. How close did he get? Well, they paid XDTE 18.5, almost 18.6. Oh, I said 18.6. Pretty good. QDTE paid 22.1. I said it was going to pay 22.3. Darn close for a guessing guy. And the last one is RDTE, paid 32.7, and I said they were going to pay 33.8, so they were a little low. That could also be due to share count and everything else that's involved that I don't actually have 100% access to, because you know they're rounding these things to like 10,000 shares, so I'm getting you pretty close. You can expect something like that. So December 6th, this Friday, they're going to pay about 22.8 for XDTE. QDTE is about 23.2, and RDTE is about 26.9. Thereabouts. Maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. Now, it is the end of the year, so anything that they haven't paid out, they're going to pay out before the end of the year. When that occurs, I don't know. Nobody knows. But they're going to do the accounting to make sure everything's paid out. They got to pay out 90%, and we're going to be fairly close to these numbers. So how did the calls go this week? Well, just like last week, it wasn't such a good week for Roundhill. I think somebody went on vacation. Don't know. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But when you look at the calls, QDTE, everything seemed to be going well until Friday. They got called out on Friday, and that was a 2.5 million. But you had to add back in the 426 that they got paid for the call. So at the end of the week, they lost just over $600,000. But hey, you're still going to get paid in 2 weeks from now at 14 cents. That's because there's one less trading day, and it is what it is. So the amount through the strike was 0.43, and that's the distance they're going to get farther away from the actual index. But at the end of the day, I also noticed share count didn't go up, but somehow the quantity of strikes went up. That's where maybe the website's behind on updating, who knows. But one thing's noticeable is the VIX has come down in some volatility there. So that gets you starting to think lower volatility means less premiums. At the end of the day, it doesn't look too awful bad for QDTE. XDTE, well, they had 2 days, Tuesday and Friday, that they went through the strike. That was a bad week again for them. I did notice that Monday, I didn't know what they were doing. They sold it for 93 cents compared to about the average of $5, and they were farther out of the money, but it was a little bit higher VIX. So I don't know what that was all about. At the end of the day, they're going to pay you right around 13.2 cents. Thereabouts. Again, 1 day short of trading this week. RDTE did better than most. Nothing went through the strike. Gotta hand it to them. Higher volatility. They're going to pay you 37.5 cents. So at the end of the day, the winner this week, like a lot of weeks, is going to be RDTE. But notice how many strikes they actually increased on Friday. All these increased on Friday. I don't know why. They just did. Again, share count didn't change. So I'll look at this again next week to see how much that share count changes on Monday or Tuesday, to see maybe they just didn't update the website. But right now, RDTE leads the way. nothing went through the strike. So that's pretty good sign for RDTE. One little thing I'll add, if you remember, I upload this as a PDF, so you actually have all the information in a PDF form so you can review it at your leisure and you don't have to go back and rewind the screen. So at the end of the day, they're going to pay XDTE 2 weeks from now 13.2. QDTE is going to be right around 14.2, and RDTE is going to be about that 37.5 cent, give or take a little bit there. But that's what they're looking for distributions. Hopefully you got some RDTE, because clearly that's the one that's leading the way right now. We're going to look at YBTC. Just going to be curious of what they're doing and how this is going on since they started the fund. I go out and I notice, hey, they have their synthetic on BITO. They sold a call at 25.7. Okay, everything checks out like they are doing what they're supposed to be doing. I looked at distributions. They're averaging right around that $1 or something. Sometimes it's 4, sometimes it's 2, but it's all about the volatility of Bitcoin, and it's up and down. Who knows what they're going to do? But so far, it's got decent premiums. Personal opinion. So I went back and back tested this and said, hey, I put $50,000 in. And normally for back testing, I put $50,000 in and I take out 8%. 8% annually. So $50,000, that'd be $333 a month, because that's what I'm going to live on for every $50,000 I invest in something. And I back test it and see how it does. So YBTC in the back testing did pretty good. If you put $50,000 in at the beginning, you're close to that $80,000 in less than a year. Also, if you take out your 8%, you're still at about $75,000. So you're not doing too awful bad as this thing compounds going forward. I show that if you took all the distributions, you're not really gaining too much on what they call the NAV. At the end of the day, it's all about total returns. Total returns minus my 8%. Maybe total returns minus 10%. Maybe total returns minus 20%. And just a little teaser, I ran 3 yield max tests last night, taking 20% out of each one, and amazingly how all 3 did. Really amazingly. The last one we're going to look at is YETH. Again, I look at it going, all right, they got the calls and the puts, they make the synthetic. I noticed that the call is a little farther out. Looks pretty good to me. It's pretty much standard stuff that I would suspect in a synthetic made profile for cover calls. So far, their premiums have been actually pretty high. Can't complain about that. But if I look at the back testing and say, how has this done overall? And is it a good possible strategy for you to do something if you believe in ETH? And the answer is yes. You can take your total returns, you put your $50,000 in, and in 3 months, you're up to about $6,500. So how did this back testing look? So if you put $50,000 in, it did pretty well. If I take my 8%, and that is 8% annually, so that's about $333.33 a month. That is my Roundhill Roundup for the week. I will say it looks like it's going to be a little weak in 2 weeks, but then again, it was only 4 trading days. Anything that they have as cash that they haven't paid out, they'll pay it out this month, which is only a couple more weeks long. So it's getting closer, and everything seems to be tracking just like Roundhill normally does every week. So if you got any questions, leave them below. I will put at the end, if you want to go back and look at how I do the math, I'll put a card here at the end so you can go click and go look at how I do the math at the end of the video. And until next time, God bless.